Welcome, my brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, to the real world with Elder George. I'm Elder George and will share a message that will not only help you deal with the stress, tensions, and anxieties of living in Western society, but will also motivate you to help transform society from materially oriented to family supportive. There are three requisites for a happy, healthy, and harmonious human environment, and they are spiritual awareness, gender understanding, and family focus. Western society does not promote any of these requirements, yet they apply to all the issues facing us. They constitute what I call the real world, and you will hear me refer to them a lot. This is my introductory podcast, and it will be the first of many that will address matters important to you. Today I will discuss the implosion of Western society and will suggest steps we all can take to survive its collapse. Western society is imploding. It is in a state of collapse because it does not have the requirements and practices necessary to sustain itself. The three requirements for a happy, healthy, and harmonious human environment are spiritual awareness, gender understanding, and family focus. These values exist in all indigenous societies throughout the world and constitute the basic tenets of most religions. None of these attributes, none of these requirements are promoted in Western society. We'll come back to these three requirements later and in subsequent podcasts. This podcast will focus on the activities relating to the implosion of Western society. Western society is imploding. That's reality, folks. The term imploding means collapsing upon itself, and that's what's happening to our society. Now let's address some of the many factors indicating that our society is collapsing. We have high incarceration rates. That's an understatement. We have the highest incarceration rate of all industrial nations. We have more people in prison than China and India combined, and they have a total population 8 times greater than ours. We say that we live in the land of the free, but that does not jibe with having the highest incarceration rate in the world. High incarceration rates cannot be attributed entirely to a government against the people syndrome. No nation litigates against its fellow citizens as much as we do. That doesn't say much for our ethics, does it? Ethics? When was the last time you heard that word? When was the last time you saw it in print? The gradual removal of the word ethic and its meaning from our vocabulary is not an accident. Ethics come from men and are unseen, such as right and left and north and south. Ethics consist of values that are the basis for establishing moral behavior and appropriateness in society. However, we live in a society that feels it doesn't need men anymore, so we no longer have moral behavior. Everything is all right now. We have legal and illegal, but they do not necessarily have any relationship to moral and immoral. We have low marriage rates and high divorce rates. The divorce rates in America are approximately 33%, regardless of the religious affiliation, and that includes atheists. That doesn't show an interest in the family values necessary to propagate and preserve the species. Women use the term, "I'm a single mother," as though it were an honorary title. Unwed motherhood has become an accepted societal norm. Therefore, increasing numbers of children are raised without adequate parental care. Less than 20% of 18-year-olds live in a home with both their natural parents. We don't have families anymore. We have living arrangements. There is no sense of belongingness. Our youth tend to join gangs because the gangs offer a sense of belongingness. Cartoonist Charles Schulz of Peanuts fame once drew a cartoon showing Linus opening the door to his house with the following caption: "Security is opening the door and hearing Mom in the kitchen." How many children have that sense of security today? How many children know that Mom will be in the house when they get home? Children are shunted into preschool and after-school programs as substitute for parental involvement, guidance, and instruction. This results in increased street gang participation and the negative environment it provides. Our elders move into retirement villages early, or are dumped into senior citizens' homes, or facilities that care for the destitute. Cats and dogs do well, though. They usually live in homes. It's children and the elders that aren't faring well. Think of it. Dogs used to live in dog houses and cats were semi-feral. Children and grandparents lived at home. Now children and grandparents are out and dogs and cats are in. How's your home? Are you taking care of your elders? Is Mom in the kitchen? Are you respecting the wisdom of the elders? Every religion calls for the respecting of the elders. That's where the wisdom comes from that will assist in propagating and preserving the species. But propagating and preserving the species is not a priority in Western society. Let's look at the health of Mom for a moment before moving on to the other indications of our collapsing society. The number one illness of the American woman is debilitating depression. 1 woman in 4 in her 30s and 40s takes antidepressants. Most sleeping pills are taken by women. And female suicide at the adolescent and adult levels is at an all-time high. Mom isn't doing well, is she? That's probably because she's hardly in the kitchen anymore. We'll discuss that in more detail in the future. Another indication of the collapse of our society is the violence in our institutions, which has become so commonplace as to be hardly newsworthy. The violence comes from the use of guns, knives, hatchets, even matches, and the deranged persons who commit these acts of violence. Still another indication of collapse are the violent demonstrations against those of opposing views. The police, political persons, and the nation's cultural heritage. We have violence everywhere. It is promoted in video games, television programs, popular music, the movies, rock concerts, and other forms of entertainment and media. One last indication of the collapse of our society is the destruction of our physical environment. The air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat are all polluted. We are living in a poisonous physical environment, and it is taking its effect on our mental, physical, and emotional health. Those are some of the indications that society is imploding. These indications are effects. There is a cause for everything, and the cause for the collapse of Western society is a lack of spiritual awareness, gender understanding, and family focus. The prerequisites for a happy, harmonious, and healthy human environment. Most everything I have to say on this podcast and future podcasts will be based on spiritual awareness, gender understanding, and family focus. My next podcast will discuss the importance of structure in maintaining society. Without structure, chaos ensues. Please be sure to check my website at mensaction.net and tap the About Us tab, which contains the essay index. Under the letter T, you will find a 6-part series titled The Implosion of Western Society. This is an extensive series and will explain in more depth the subject we discussed today. You will benefit from reading it. I'm sure you will enjoy it. To recap today's message, the entire Western world is imploding because it ignores the 3 requisites for a happy, healthy, and harmonious human environment. Namely, spiritual awareness, gender understanding, and family focus, which we will discuss in detail in the next podcast. Thank you for tuning in to The Real World with Elder George. Please log on to my website, mensaction.net, which contains 170 essays and 46 videos, all relating to the real world. It also illustrates my 2 books, which contain more information on the subjects that we address. You can be part of the effort to bring about change in our society by sharing this message with your friends and by tuning in to my next video and or podcast. Working together, we will survive. Thank you. Dear viewer and or listener, an important part of our message consists of an explanation of the principle of gender, which is elaborated on in my 2 books. My first book, Dear Brothers and Sisters, Gender and Its Responsibility, explains gender differences and the realization that they are manifestations of a universal principle. My second book, A Gender Handbook for Western Man, is not a handbook as such, but it does approach the gender issue on a more technical basis, which I felt would be more receptive to the Western mind. Both books can be obtained quickly from Amazon or Barnes and Noble. I hope that you will invest in both and increase your awareness and understanding of the principle of gender and its importance in your life. Thank you.